Hello and welcome to Film Critic Movie Buff, the YouTube channel where I take my favorite films and other films I've seen and I tell you whether they're of artistic value and called a film, or if they're entertaining fare and I call it a movie. Today I'm continuing with my very favorite films, and I'm also continuing with a Robert Zemeckis theme, and I'm going to tell you about Back to the Future, Part 1. It is one of my favorite films, and I am going to call it a movie, but I'm also going to call it a film as well. It's one of the few movies that can be called both a film and a movie. It's a film because of its high quality in terms of its story and its script, its memorable characters. It has a future Oscar-winning director. It was produced with the Steven Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy producing team. It has Christopher Lloyd. It has Michael J. Fox. It has some really great actors. The effects on it are amazing for the time. Its attention to detail from the 80s to the 50s. It's a wonderful piece of work, but it's also a movie because of how fun it is, and it really broke the mold in terms of those 80s films that were, or even just any sort of movie with a far-reaching premise, but it works out so perfectly, and it's so good. In a movie, something like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it's a teenage movie. It's a movie about teenagers, but it's not as high quality as Back to the Future is, or any of the John Hughes films. All of those are movies. They're very entertaining, and they're just enjoyable. But Back to the Future, it takes it to the next step, and it's just so done so well. For me personally, as a child, I used to watch it over and over on a recorded VHS from when NBC broadcast it on their network back in the late 80s. And when I would watch it over and over and over again, I would wear a child-sized red vest, similar to what Marty wears in the movie. The lines are so quotable. It has such a hold in pop culture, as it's one of the few time-traveling vehicles that you can recognize. There's the TARDIS, I should say. The Enterprise, in its times when it can travel back in time. There's the Terminator sphere, and then probably most identifiable is the DeLorean, the time machine. Anytime you see a DeLorean driving around, no matter if you're a fan of the film or not, you recognize it as from Back to the Future. People can even buy newly made DeLoreans, not from the DeLorean Motor Company, but independently made DeLoreans with a refit for the time traveling equipment in the back of it. Most of them have the Mr. Fusion attached to it, but it's that sort of stuff just sticks in people's minds, and it's so identifiable by so many people. And in the end, it turned out to be so good, but not to say that they weren't expecting it to be that good, but it takes it to another level. The soundtrack is done by a symphony, and it just sounds so epic and wonderful and big. Just everything about it is great, beyond great. It's fantastic. It's amazing. All of the wonderful things you can say about a film and a movie, this fits into both categories. It was in an AFI list of the top 10 different genres, and rightfully so. It's a comedy. It's a science fiction movie. It's got heart to it. It's got a lot of humor, and it's also kind of scientifically accurate. There's a lot of things in the movie that could possibly work out, or at least are true. gigawatts and all the other stuff that Doc Brown talks about. And Doc Brown himself, such a wildly eccentric scientist, he fits a perfect mold. And Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly. It's been mentioned that they have a Sorcerer's Apprentice sort of look to it, or even Sword in the Stone, with the older wizard, or in this case scientist, and a younger curious teenager who just wants to be a part of it and take a look and experience it all. So an amazing movie, so many accolades. I could list them for another 5 minutes, but I won't bore you with that. So thank you very much for watching. Take care.